Hi, I'm Jason Tribbett. I'm part of Hyatt's digital analytics team. So at Hyatt, we care for people so they can be their best. This is Hyatt's purpose. And as part of the Hyatt family, we strive to keep this concept top of mind and integrate this into everything that we do. But in the digital world and in the analytics world, what does that actually mean? So for me, it means ensuring that all of our analytics efforts, our optimization efforts, and our marketing efforts, and even our personalization efforts are all focused on making the digital experience better for people so that they can be their best. So this is the main concept that we focus on when we're optimizing our digital channels. And in order to do this, we had to rethink the way that we had our tracking set up. We needed to make sure that the data that we're analyzing and that the data that we're using to fuel all of our marketing efforts was set up to be focused around people. So this is something that we had to deal with a long time ago, where everything was hard-coded on our site. We had analytics tags that were just plopped on there, random remarketing tags on pages that people didn't know where they were. And so we had to get under the hood. And we've removed all of that and re-implemented everything through Tealium. We took all of the old code off, pushed it all in through Tealium, and in the process of doing that, we wanted to re-examine the underlying data that we had within our site so that we could centralize all of the data. This is obviously a recurring theme, but we wanted to make sure that everything that we had was structured in such a way that we could understand the customer better. And in doing that, we also revamped the way that our digital tracking was set up. So by fixing all of this, we were actually able to go back now and focus on our actual digital optimization efforts. So one of the main digital optimization efforts that we're able to do now that we actually have all of that data centralized is email abandonment retargeting. So what that looks like for us, we're able to, when somebody comes through our site, they'll reach our search results page, for example. Maybe they'll search for Chicago. And at this point, we now know information because we're able to pass that back to Audience Stream and into Tealium. And if they were to abandon on this page, we can send them an email allowing them to pick up right where they left off, exactly in this particular segment. If they make it to our rooms and rates page, for example, or the actual rates page, we now know even more information. We know specifically which hotel they were looking at. We know specifically which rates they were interested in. And we can further create a much more detailed email that will allow them to pick up here instead. And even if they make it to our checkout page, they'll actually get something that's similar to this that's specific to that exact reservation. And they can pick up exactly where they left off. Some of the other efforts that we do are optimizing our homepage. So for instance, the mastheads that we have on our website, we want to make sure that those are specific to the individual users that's coming to our site. We don't want to put any image there that is not relevant to the person that is actually visiting the site. In this particular case, we're looking at a join masthead. And it wouldn't really make sense to put that in front of our existing loyalty members because they've already signed up. They don't need to see this. We can give them something that's much more relevant to them. Similarly, we do geo-targeted mastheads, such that in the case of this one, we don't want to be able to display this chase masthead anywhere outside of the US because that's not relevant to people outside of the US. They can't sign up. So these efforts that I'm describing, they're really only useful if we're accurate in the way that we're actually targeting. And by revamping our analytics, we were able to get close to this just by centralizing that data layer. But the question was, could we get better or smarter or more accurate in the way that we're targeting? And in order to do that, we had to ask ourselves what kind of problems that we're facing that actually are causing this to be inaccurate. So the first one, which is something that probably a lot of people face, is that not all of our loyalty members log in. it's actually, most of the time, people will not even log in when they make a reservation, and then they'll attach it after the fact. We've seen this happen plenty of times. And if we wanted to fuel these experiences properly, we need to make sure that people were actually logging in. But if we couldn't do it that way, we wanted to make sure there was a way to target logged out members. So what we did was we utilized Audience Stream to build out the user segments for each one of the tier levels in our loyalty program. We set up rules such that when a person logs into one of our digital platforms, we can assign an actual attribute for their tier level and pull it into the platform. Then we took that same attribute data and funneled it right back into the website using TIQ. And we passed that to our A/B testing tools. We can pass it to our remarketing tools. And now we can actually see, while this user is logged out, that he's actually a member. He's a discoverist. And now I don't want to display him that join masthead anymore. So instead, I'll display him this masthead about traveling to Tokyo. So this was great. This was a great experience for the website, and it also applies to our app as well. But it does still somewhat fall short. So what happens when there's multiple devices? One of the things that we end up seeing, and this is a typical user flow for this is kind of our happy path for our website and our app. And typically, it's just somebody will start on our homepage, go through the usual booking funnel, and end up booking a hotel. Or they'll abandon or somewhere along there. And that's, with our email retargeting efforts, we'll probably send them an email right there on the spot. And we'll do the same thing within our app. But that's not actually how a lot of experiences work nowadays. Sometimes people will start on the mobile app, finish or get through the funnel a little bit of the way, and decide, I'm going to pick this back up on my computer. Go to the website and complete their reservation from there. Or even the opposite can happen, where we've seen people come through our website and decide, you know what, I have to go. I don't have time to finish this right now. I'm going to finish this in the cab on the way to wherever I'm heading. And they actually will continue booking through the mobile app instead. So this can be kind of a tricky issue for us, because in this particular flow, we'll have accidentally sent this user an email telling them that they should come back and stay with us at the Hyatt Centric, but they've already booked with us. And if it were me, that would make me feel like they're just not listening to me. They know that I'm staying with them, and yet they're sending me this email asking me to stay with them. Maybe they just don't care. Now, so remember, we care for people so that they can be their best. So we care for people, not devices. And nowadays, everybody is just a big collection of devices. And what that looks like is similar to this. We would have several different users coming to our website. And each one of those users is actually going to be a collection of devices that they're using as a unit. What's tricky about this is that we don't see that. On our side, what we would see is a whole list of individual device IDs. And we kind of assumed that they were people, but realistically, they are just a unit in that sense. A grouping of those devices actually makes up one person. So we need to gather more data. So let's look at a specific user. When this user comes to the site, initially we see their device ID. And we know that that's not sufficient already. So what we needed to do was pass more data to their visitor attributes within Audience Stream so that we could understand who this person was. Now, our first thought was, let's add in their loyalty number. If we pass their loyalty number to their visitor profile, then we would know that this person actually is that individual device, and we can do that with multiple devices, and that would kind of stitch them together. But this is an issue for us, as I mentioned earlier, because not everybody logs in. And not only that, not everybody signs up for our loyalty program. I know that's a crazy thing to say, but not everybody actually wants to sign up for our loyalty program. So can we get better than this? Well, we thought after that, we thought, well, let's start passing in like hashed email address or a hashed phone number or something along those lines so that we can actually get more specific to the user. But this was also more of an issue for us as well, because while this will actually identify our non-members, it's dependent on them providing that information to us on each of the devices that they were planning on using. So if we wanted them to if we wanted to stitch together, say, their laptop and their phone, they would have at least needed to provide their email address or their phone number on both of those devices, which means they probably would have had to stay with us. And that's not very common for somebody that's not a member at our loyalty program. So this is still not quite sufficient to get to what we were trying to see. So then we thought, well, what about adding in a third-party ID? A third-party ID was going to be very helpful for us because it allows us to be a lot more accurate. We can get a lot of this same information, login information, email address, phone number, things along those lines, but that's dependent on them logging in with us. But with a third party, they can log in a whole bunch of different places, and as long as that third party's pixel is on the site, they're able to stitch that together for us. So this solved a lot of issues for us, because while our site doesn't necessarily force you to log in or even force you to become a member, other sites do. And we were able to leverage that data and funnel that right back into Audience Stream to create that experience. So what we actually end up seeing now by doing that, we can take each one of these individual devices and their device IDs and tie them back to an individual person. In other words, we can actually care for each one of these individual people rather than each one of the devices. And our Audience Stream audiences can be updated across all of the devices in real time in order to make a much more accurate and much more up-to-date experience. So looking back on this particular user flow, if this user were to come through our website, switch over to our mobile app, and actually book there, we can tell Audience Stream, hey, don't send that email. This person actually did convert. He's still involved in that experience. And that saves us the trouble of accidentally sending out an embarrassing email, but more so, it allows us to treat this person in the right manner. Even looking back at the masthead experiences that we were fueling on our homepage, we're able to actually look back at somebody, even if they've gotten a new laptop or something along those lines, if we can funnel that experience back, we can now know, even if they've never logged in on that website, that that's the same person, and that we can give them the right experience that they deserve. We're trying to get smarter with all of this moving forward by utilizing Tealium Think to basically help, moving forward, predict some of this behavior as well, so that we can essentially determine when somebody is going to be switching between these apps or when somebody is going to abandon. We'd like to know that ahead of time as well, so that way we can see what that person looks like, and we can even further so deliver them an experience that they didn't even know they wanted yet. And with that, I'll say thank you.